Hello, and welcome to another video. This video, we're going to be playing 3 different arena matches, so feel free to leave this on in the background or watch it if you're trying to learn lethality. I ended up messaging this person because they are streaming and I'm actually watching them. So I was pretty bored, I was just giving up, and I ended up sleeping way too much the other day. Otherwise I would have had a video up, so sorry about that. I figured, given all this footage, I might as well just make a longer video, and here we are. And if you're not interested in lethality gameplay, basically you can just skip this video because pretty much all 3 matches are lethality. So getting into this, our strategy is to kill the mercenary first because that's the most killable and he doesn't have a way to self out or stall really, so we're just going to roll him. The only issue here is that predation definitely makes mercenary move faster than they definitely should be allowed to move. I don't understand what it is, but every single other class does not get the same move speed buff. I'm not really sure what's going on with mercenary specifically that allows them to move a little bit faster with predation versus other classes. So it does give a little buff to Gibz here, which is nice, but overall doesn't really change much. He is playing, however, in a 3-stack, and we're pretty much all SoloQ on our team. So at the very least, I can do some damage and have a little bit of fun, but for the most part, I'm completely at liability for whoever ends up being on my team, so my other DPS ends up not being great. I pretty much lose because we don't have damage, and if my support players are not very good, I pretty much lose because of that too. But thankfully, these healers and DPS and tank were all plenty good enough, which is great. However, there is a massive heal gap between my team and their team, but we try to make do with what we have, and then obviously there's a lot of bursts going off that's just not guarded, not protected, which definitely makes it a lot harder for both of the sorcerers to actually play the game. So you do have to take that with a grain of salt. And just playing double Carnage into double Sork is just like a field day for Carnage because you're able to just absolutely annihilate both of them constantly. You didn't really have anything to stop you, and you can pretty much just constantly cast on them. Or not really cast, but 3 damage on them. And they're never really a bad target. I'm like the worst target in the match, but I'm still, very killable with the 100% crit window. And that's another thing to think about, like if you guys are interested in how do you play against Carnage Marauder? Well, eventually you'll have to learn that Massacre is their main source of damage, so Massacre or Blade Rush, and they'll do it about 3 times in a row, and then they'll do their burst window, which will have 100% crit on the first ability. Devastating Blast pretty much always crits, and Gore is probably the weakest, but they'll usually save it for last because it'll apply a hinder effect for 1.5 seconds. And with that knowledge, all you have to do really is to enter up their stacks on Massacre or Blade Rush. Then also, if you're ever able to push them away and get them stuck in a root and then hard stun them, their speed and crit buff will eventually fall off. It doesn't actually last for a very long time, so if you can just keep them from hitting anything for a little bit, their stacks will drop and they will not be as oppressive to deal with for a few seconds, which is nice. And if you're able to constantly just continuously disrupt them, their damage will fall tremendously. And then this round we actually end up losing. The main reason we end up losing is because we don't get the mercenary down soon enough. So the mercenary ends up pretty much securing a kill on our sorcerer, which sucks. But unfortunately there's not much we can do. Typically when it comes to a 3-stack versus nobody, or not really nobody, but pucks, it's going to be in their favor. Statistically speaking, without knowing that, however, it's usually always going to go to our team just because we have proper support roles, but unfortunately tank is like one of the hardest roles to play in the entire game, and a lot of people end up picking up as it with only the motive of living longer. This person ended up doing, obviously an adequate enough job, so that doesn't really matter too much. And thankfully for lethality, had I been playing something else, this probably would have been a loss, like probably pretty quickly, unless I was able to get a kill very fast. Mostly just because other classes don't have the same durability, and guard can't be late on most of the classes I like to play. So that's becomes obviously a problem, and lethality can definitely take a lot more damage. That's the main reason why I was queuing this, because the queue had a lot of groups in it, and I was like, you know what, I'll just play whatever has the highest chance to win here. If I was playing Hatred here, I'd be dead already. If I was playing Deception here, I would be dead already. Had I been playing Marauder here, I probably would be dead already, and if I played PT, I don't know, that would be a gamble. Maybe I get a kill, maybe I don't know. That's one hypothetical that I can't actually map out, because I do feel like I would probably get a kill here and we'd be fine, but I'd probably end up dying to the Marauders, because 100% armor pen does not sound too great to deal with unless I was able to get guard for the majority of the match, which is probably not something that would happen, mostly because there's 2 Sorks on the team. And that's pretty much the end of this round. Since our Sork has already died, we're pretty much screwed here. Now, the only thing that they can really do here is try to focus up a little bit more and swap between the Sorks a little bit better, but unfortunately in this round 3 they don't end up doing that too much, which is in our favor, which is great. But oh yeah, also I'm whispering this person because, you know, obviously I said earlier I'm watching their stream, and the context has nothing to do with the match that we're playing. So I am a little bit multitasking here. And then this person's like, oh, kill the healer. We actually can just kill the healer. It's actually not a bad strategy for us. However, we need to kill the Merc DPS as soon as possible. The main reason I'm not hitting the healer is just because I am just, I don't know. For the most part, when it comes to arenas, especially when I feel like they're a little bit unfair, I don't like to play right. Obviously killing the mercenary DPS is the most important thing, and then you could totally hit the healer. Yes, that's totally fine, because then you, if you don't have sorcerers, at least in this situation, you can actually get free cleave by having the Marauders hit you and getting the mercenary and the Marauders at the same time. It's not a bad strategy. However, I feel like, you know what, let's just let him do his own thing, let him free cast a little bit. I'm not even taking my hard stun. That's how little serious that I'm taking this. So we're just chilling, doing some damage. And he gets to farm HPS, which is great for him. So I thought he's one of the best specs to keep into for farming HPS. Which obviously, you know, the heal gap does contribute to that, but at the same time, I would say he is far better than the healer that we have here. And we get the kill here, and the match is pretty much in the bag. I just have to make sure that I stay on top of healing myself, since they are going me way more than the DPS Sork this time, so I just want to chill, recover some, and with that in mind, I've already used myself. I just want to make sure that I stay healthy, keep my probes up, my heals up, keep all that stuff going, just so I can make it a little bit easier. Obviously, I'm eventually going to need guard, and not getting guard and not really getting the heal input it doesn't bode well, but at the same time our healer is getting hit and he's not got guard either, so it's just like, okay, what is this guy doing? Here he is telling the healer, I'm like, okay, he's just going to solo the healer as his team dies. That sucks. I would appreciate some support. Thankfully the healer started healing me, and at this situation I'm like, okay, I've got evasion, but it's about time to guard. He finally guards. Very late response, I want to say like 45 seconds late, but better late than never, you know. And now in this situation, we just have to make sure that the other Sork is healthy, and we can just kill Gibz here. Normally I wouldn't want to kill Gibz, and he's, you know, popped hydraulics. He's moving so fucking fast. Like, it's crazy to me that they decided to let mercenaries move faster with predation for some reason, because there's no other class that's like that. It's just insane. So in this situation, for him going up there, he pretty much sacrifices his Marauder, but to be fair, he's not too healthy either, so it's kind of not much of his choice. And the match comes to a close. Now normally I might just post this and this alone. However, I feel like there's context needed for these other two matches, and I'd love to just have them all in one video here. So there's no real, how to put it, bad blood for like any of us here. Here I am trying to, you know, have some fun without taking it completely seriously, because if I was taking it completely serious, I would take my hard stun, I'd be stunning the healer nonstop. I'd probably even find value into taking flashbang here in some of this, because we can totally just flashbang the healer. It's pretty crazy. And then this person, you know, messaged me because I ended up having a match, and our healer didn't barrier ever. I think it was a 3-round game. Our healer never buried, not a single one of those matches. So we ended up losing to them eventually. It was like pretty drawn out, but our healer died within like the first 2 minutes or less, which was pretty boring in my opinion, because there was such a massive heal gap. And we were pretty much all SoloQ yet again, and in this match we're again all SoloQ, and they have a 2-stack now, so it's not 3-stack. This makes it a lot easier for matchmaking to make a more competitive match. So in this situation, my ideal is go Synox shots and just tunnel the Mando DPS, because I want to get him out of here as soon as possible. I'm not going to be able to flat out kill the other two classes because they're a little bit too mobile for my liking, so I'm going to try to kill the mercenary DPS. And Synox shots is very good at single target, so I'm taking advantage of that. And unfortunately in the 3rd round they ended up knocking me off a lot. Had they played right, they would have knocked me off constantly, which is something I thank them for. They do think of their knocks, but they're just not using it right, if that makes sense. Then going into why Synox shots over fire elements. Again, you know, it's just for the single target, but Synox Shocks has this useful interaction. So basically, increases the damage of your Toxic Blast obviously by 75%, but you also just have the increased single target damage. So what that means is that you get your dots, you get 2 dots in your Toxic Blast. Toxic Blast is doing more damage, and when you hit Corrosive Assault, all 3 of your dots tick again. So you get to go burr with all 3 dots at the same time. We end up doing 19k, which is pretty nice for mostly single target. We're obviously getting some dots on other people here, but for the most part I'm just blaring it on this one mercenary, which also, by the way, we have a virulence slinger, or dirty fighting slinger, and that's another class that's really able to absolutely decimate mercenaries, especially with the armor penetration talent on latest target or acquired target or whatever it's called, which is pretty nice. It's actually one of my favorite targets when I'm playing dirty fighting. So with that in mind, we're pretty much going to be able to always nuke this guy, and we obviously want to get the Marauder down too, so the Marauder can't just do whatever he wants, but in this situation they get a good opener on our Sork, and he gets kind of screwed, and then the other Sork, our Sorkular, ends up getting killed without even popping like barrier, so it was like really bad. Our healer and our DPS Sork are kind of like line of sighting each other. It's just bad all around. Can't really blame one or the other. This healer is not great, but I wouldn't say it's all his fault. It's totally fine. Neither of us are expecting too much. So in this situation, obviously I'm going to tell him, like, you need to, you know, use your barrier. Like, it's, you know, it's not that crazy to expect that. And this other guy was like, oh, it's netted, and yeah, dude, like, I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the healer that just died without using barrier ever. Wasn't netted either, as we saw him just fall over. So you kind of know what kind of healer we're dealing with here. But we'll give it a minute, and obviously he ends up focusing up because we do end up winning this. And in this situation, I wouldn't really say, like, okay, maybe if I hit healer it'll be better here. Not necessarily. We really need to kill the DPS Swtor, and the main reason for that is just, or not DPS Swtor, but the DPS Mando, because he's just doing, or not really doing, but contributing too much damage. Then also getting the Marauder down is really important. But at any point we can just go the other mercenary too. And we almost get a kill there. Had I known he was actually hitting the other mercenary, then sure, I probably could have helped him kill it, but I didn't bother. And then somebody had earlier knocked the DPS Mando off. That's something I just don't want to happen. The only reason that is because the other two are just not very good targets for me. I don't want to just tunnel the healer because shield, if you're not killing them through the shield, there's like virtually no point in me like fluffing damage into him. So in this situation, I tell them to hit the Marauder because that's just going to be better for them. And then I also hit the Mando because it's going to be a better target for me. And between the amount of damage output that we have, we're pretty much probably just going to win flat out. And the Gunslinger ends up hitting the same target with me, so he gets absolutely nuked in the opener, which is kind of funny. And here they start knocking me. This is where it gets kind of sketchy. I do want to DPS him, but at the same time I know I'm gonna get knocked off, so here he like jumps off. Like, that's not great for me. This guy has Undying Rage, so at least get my dot spread. Some damage on Gibz because there's not really a better target. I'll feel a little bit. Put a slow on the, well, obviously my dot, but mainly just my slow on him. Don't want to waste any more GCDs because I want to focus on trying to kill this guy as soon as possible. Unfortunately, I get knocked as I get my lethal strike off, at least. And he popped his reflect while I was down, so also puts me in a good spot because that means he basically has nothing, and I can kind of lay into him a little bit more here. And unfortunately, I get knocked sideways. I really don't like the whole sorcerer not moving their camera, basically not even moving their character. I know that they're probably moving their camera. Like knocking you off sideways, it just doesn't look good. It looks so goofy. I really hate that. He ends up running off here, but unfortunately this is just terrible for him because both of us can still see him, and Gibz is kind of far away from him. And then Gibz is now down, and the Marauder is here in our face, so he's pretty much dead, unfortunately. That kind of just played into our advantage, even though he probably did it with good intentions. And why did we let the Lightning Sorcerer just do whatever he wants for the entire match? Well, that's literally only because it is the worst target possible for me. Chain Lightning just naturally kites operatives, and even more so lethality operatives. So I'm not going to waste my damage on something I can't catch. So again, you want to counter lethality operatives and not get completely clobbered by burst DPS. Lightning is a great choice. And then in this situation, they end up getting a backfill because there's just people not accepting the queue. This probably could have been one of the more balanced matches that we had. But unfortunately, they end up getting 2 healers, and pretty much every situation they should be winning this, but that's not what happened. We end up getting the healer that we had, that we won against Gibz with, and yeah. You can notice something. I asked them to stack. I'm being, you know, as nice as I can be here. And, you know, seeing as a match that, hey, we can both fluff, so why not do that, right? And they kind of agree at the beginning, and then they start being a little annoying around 2. So obviously just ended up playing right, which totally sucks because I don't understand why anybody takes Arena seriously. If you take Arena seriously and Swtor and current state, it's just sad. It's honestly just sad, man. Like, I don't know what you're doing. The amount of games that you're going to win or lose because there's matchmaking issues or people that don't accept is insane, and unless everybody's going to play in groups, which people aren't going to do, I don't know what to say. Let's say if I end up making a group, I would just bullying a whole bunch of SoloQ players. It's not very fun. Sure, I could play against this other group, but eventually they're going to stop queuing because it's not going to be fun for them anymore. That's just kind of like how group ranked went, and for the most part, solo ranked is probably the only reason why Arena functions as the way it is. Obviously, solo ranked is not a thing anymore, but when it comes to like Arena solo queue, is pretty much the only reason it functions as a whole. If it was only group, it probably wouldn't get very many pops. Now, it would be nice if there was like a clear indicator of like who's in a group and who's not, so you can at least know what you're getting when you jump in there, but that's not always the case. Now, obviously this guy is not happy that I am kind of just doing whatever I want, and I think that's fine. I'm sure he probably just wants to stay there as weekly. I'm here to just have fun, so when it comes to doing things proper, by the way, we just kill a circular. The main reason we do that is because the circular is not very good into jugs, but unfortunately the jugs on our team are barely players. I mean, no offense to these guys. These guys are something else. And you know, you don't have to be great at the game. You don't have to be great in Arena. You don't have to be the best. That's not something that you need to be. You just need to at least try. And that's something that they did, and I appreciate them for that. So regardless of whether they're good or bad, or in my opinion, obviously to certain people they're amazing, but when it comes to like standards, it's a little different perspective wise for everybody, because obviously the best player that I've seen is obviously going to be a lot different than the best player you've ever seen. And in this situation, Gibz gets upset because I'm drawing out the game because I just want to sit here and fluff. But at this point, I'm like, okay, if you're gonna do that, like at this point, you know, okay, fine, I'll play it seriously. I'll stop messing around, and this won't be as fun anymore. Which totally sucks, because, you know, it's a 21k game. We could probably push it even further, but we don't get to, because we want to act like this. It's just completely immature. So, obviously, I don't care about what he has to say, but at the same time, you know, I'm not the one queuing a 3-stack right now. We played plenty of ranked games in Season 12, group ranked games that were actually a lot of fun, so I don't know, maybe he's just trying to make a joke here and it's not funny. So in this situation, how to play this properly, what we do is tunnel the circular, because we know he's not good. But let's say he was good. If he was good, wouldn't really have a chance. We would have to get a DPS down, and if that was the choice, we would have to probably kill the Sword DPS and or sit the Sword DPS the entire time to lower his damage, so that we virtually don't have a chance of dying. And eventually the Sword DPS will probably die, or we'll eventually just kill them all through pressure. That's a crappy strategy, but that's actually just how it plays out sometimes. But since he's not very great, and obviously it's again subjective. I hate using these words because I don't really. I'm not trying to insult any of these players, obviously, and I know some of them will see it as an insult, and I'm sorry, man. Like honestly, I'm sorry. It's not my intent. So basically, what happens here, obviously, since he's not very good, obviously, even though we've won with him against Gibz, he just gets bested here, and that's just what's going to happen. You know, not everybody can win. I guess that'd be the best way to put it. And now in this situation, since there's only 2 DPS, and they don't have that much damage, so we can just continue pressuring Gibz. One of our Juggernauts died. I honestly don't remember which DPS jug actually did any damage. As far as I know, I don't really think either of them did, but I was thinking about, you know, trying to keep one of them up or help the healer keep them up, but at the same time I feel like it's just not worth it. Not at this point, it's just too damage, you know? And in this situation, they're just going to end up dying because he's not going to be able to maintain with the pressure, even though eventually I'm going to be like the only DPS, but somehow the jug is like barely hanging on in there, which is great, and he pretty much goes down. And again, this is just the whole reason as to why I don't really enjoy playing this way is because it makes the game so much less enjoyable. Like, there are times where you'll go DPS, most times you'll go DPS over healer, but this is one of the rare exceptions where going healer can be better. Now, as you can see, was it the guy that was alive a little bit longer did a decent amount of damage, which is great, awesome. I am happy he was able to do some damage. But as Rage Juggernaut, the thing just pours out damage, especially on sorcerers. So we kind of want to prioritize that guy, but at the same time, we don't know how good the other one is because, you know, that's just a way of life of Juggernaut. Juggernaut's not a durable class, so even if you aren't good at it, eventually you're just doomed. And if you're bad at it, you can still perform because it's good. It's a weird situation. Some other classes aren't like that. So for example, if you're not very good at lethality, you're probably not going to really perform, but being good at lethality is actually pretty easy. Now in this situation, it's not even 30 seconds, so we've already got barrier, so everything's looking good. I'll feel a little bit. He popped ED way too soon. That's not good for us. There's other guys kind of free casting, which is great for him. And he follows along with my burst, which is perfect. Get a kill there. We're kind of like tunneling the other Juggernaut. Had he not popped ED so soon, we'd probably be in a better spot. Unfortunately, since he did that, I'm pretty sure he ends up dying, but for the most part, this game's already in the bag. Both the Juggernauts could probably still die and would probably still win. So we pretty much got everything out of them at this point. Reflective was just used. Shield's already been used. Colto's the last defensive, but that'll give enough time for another shield, which is great for him, but for the most part, it's not going to make that much of a difference if the other two DPS are actually still taking damage. And they still haven't gotten a DPS down, which is not looking good. But again, as I say, this is exactly why I don't so much as enjoy this versus just fluffing. Because when do you really get the chance to just do whatever you want? It's not very often, I would say. But yeah, there's other times where I do just want to win, so I can totally understand their perspective. But for the most part, I feel like, you know, you've been playing with an advantage like all night. Why not be humble, right? Like, I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. And in this situation, obviously he's gonna die. Normally it might be better to hit like, other players, but considering our Juggernauts are just living on borrowed time, because 1, they're Juggernauts, 2, they're not very great, and 3, there's at least 2 stack of decent players on the enemy team. Our healer actually ended up being great, pretty good, which is great for us, and terrible for them. And then in this situation, I virtually can't lose this. As long as I don't let him stuff out, I virtually cannot lose this. Even if I played completely terribly, it's just not happening. And then same thing goes for killing the Swtor here. Unless I decide to stuck it or something, we pretty much don't lose this. Now, I make it clear to Gibz here, it's like, you know, I'm literally queuing lethality, SoloQ, because it's the only thing that's actually going to work into their team. It's not going to be a complete throw. And I'm not being a complete ass and just telling the hell out of them so he can't have any fun. Even though I totally could do that, and lethality is very, very, very good at that. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And our next couple of matches that we have coming up for, I don't know if I'll commentate it tonight, maybe I will, are just going to be mostly against the same people, same groups. There was other groups, but unfortunately I was playing a different class and there was just too much grouping going on that matches were just, they felt like a landslide because one group was significantly worse. I would get some pugs that basically have never played before or not very familiar. And then he has the audacity to say that I would have lost to 3v4 when I was intentionally fluffing the first round. I don't understand this. I can't understand the logic. To me, it's a wild card. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys again with the next video.